welcome back to World of Skimmer podcast, a podcast series that talks about the key characters in my Skimmer book series published by Austin Macaulay. You can see behind me on the wall the first three books: Skimmer Deep Sea, Skimmer Harvest, Skimmer Mine. So we've been working through characters in the series, and we've done quite a number now. So I'm up to Jonah. It's probably 12, 13 characters I'm going through. So we're up to Jonah now. If you've been watching the podcast series, you'll be familiar with the characters, and I use the characters as a vehicle to explain what's going on in this deep sea mining thriller, behind which is a backdrop related to the rise of AI and acquisition of reverse engineered UFO technology on board these mining skiffs or subsurface mining skiffs. Now Jonah is a key character in the book series. Now she's a founding member of XED Ocean Academy, and that's an academy attached to a technical institute in New Caledonia where the skimmer crew training program is run, which prepares people to man these subsurface mining skiffs which have a crew of about 6. Now she set up the crew training program for skimmers. That's Jonah. Jonah set it up, and that's what she's renowned for as a founding member in the XED Ocean Academy. Now she created a pathway from the Technical Institute there in New Caledonia that focused on drones and robotics, and then built in this pathway into the Academy crew training program at the simulation or simulator centre over a number of years. Now, it wasn't really by age. They were selected for various traits depending on their ability. For example, you had skimmer operators versus skimmer pilots, and then you had information officers, security and communications officers, and drone technicians. Now, you need a high emotional intelligence to be a security and communications officer, whereas if you're a pilot, it's more about sort of hand-eye coordination or gaming ability, and operators themselves who oversaw the whole skimmer and its operations. Drone technicians, of course, coding and robotics, and information officers more sort of almost on the spectrum, you might say, in terms of their obsession with continuous improvement of operational procedures. Now, Jonah was well known. Being a founding member of the Academy, she was almost a mother to everyone, and her sole focus was the well-being of crews at sea after they'd graduated from the training program. Now, she held that above all else, the well-being of them. She oversees the crew monitoring centre setup, which has a whole series of panels and desks that monitor crew vitals for skimmers as they go around the ocean, deploying their drones 4,000 metres below to pick up manganese nodules and then return them to the Chinese-owned Globecorp Mining mineral harvester. Now she is also alongside a guy called Rick, who came aboard to help set up the simulation training centre, because Rick had a military background and helped set up the Wave Glider program in Australia. So he's well familiar with technology or technically focused rollout or application of knowledge, and then applying it to the deep sea mining industry, of course. So he helped set up the simulation training centre and got 2 giant submerged skimmers in huge tanks with cutaways that instructors could train crews in and assess their dynamics and ability to work together in quite a hostile environment, monitoring drone technology. Now, of course, Jonah developed the whole centre to be AI focused in terms of training, so it was adaptive. It's not a traditional teacher class type environment. You're, as an individual trainee, you are monitored by your own AI, which is adaptive, and the instructors are more facilitators. So as you learn, the AI adapts to the level and pace at which you acquire knowledge and you progress when you're ready or competent. So you could be at a whole range of ages and abilities, and different timings going through the academy. So some crews might graduate in 18 months, other individuals might take 3 years, and some, after a certain time limit, may be advised to go back to a drone technician job in the XZ Institute rather than the crew training program. Now, if we look at lifestyle, Jonah was being very concerned about the well-being of crews. Jonah was also concerned about lifestyle when ashore, because they're on month rotations on these subsurface mining skiffs. So she had a villa built on the campus along one side of the beach next to the drone port, and even families of crew members could stay there, or crews could board together, or even stay in individual villas. So very much looking after the well-being of crew members when they're ashore. Now, they're working in XZ Ocean Academy when they're rostered ashore, but in their downtime they have this whole suite of villas along the coast above the XZ Ocean Academy and near the drone port. Now, as a key founding member of XZ Ocean Academy, she has a close relationship with Globecorp Mining and, of course, the Chief Operations Officer, Dr. Sign. Now, he's the father of Chang and Ying Wei, and of course Chang, his son, is part of one of the crews and went through the skimmer crew training program. Now, there's a big backstory behind that I won't get into. Now it's part of the plot, of course, but she has a close relationship with Globecorp Mining, seeing as they were one of the major funders or sponsors of the setup of the skimmer crew training program, because of course they helped build the skimmers, or contributed to their knowledge to the future submarine program, application of technology, post-build to the mining industry, and the construction of these skimmers, which seem almost to have been built with retrofitted UFO technology in mind. Now, at the time, the Chinese weren't in on that, but they did build have a helping hand in building the skimmers in Australia, and using some of their knowledge, because of course they have a servicing contract. So when skimmers are at the harvester, they also get serviced there. Now, of course, Rick's always butting heads with Jonah, because he's very much national security focused, being ex-military, and involved in selecting people and putting together the crews after they graduate. And he's also in charge of the crew monitoring centre at the simulation complex, and overseeing that. Now, he very much wants to split out the sim centre itself and the crew monitoring from the academy in terms of operations, because of the implications for national security of Globecorp Mining being a major financial contributor to the crew training program. So he thinks that once they're operational, that whole side of things should be spun out of XZ Ocean Academy as a separate entity to shore up any concerns about national security and Chinese infiltration, and having a personal relationship with the Chief Operations Officer, who's very closely connected to the CCP subcommittee that oversees the harvester program, and he sees that as a liability through Jonah, because she's got a personal relationship not only with Dr. Syme, but because his son has a vested interest. Because his son is in the academy, Dr. Syme has a vested interest in the funding the program itself, and wants to see it succeed. And Rick is never sure if there's another agenda there with the Chinese, especially with the protagonist Sue, because he seems convinced that there's some connection between Sue and Chang's family, and Sue being the protagonist and having an agenda that he thinks related to the PLA Navy, confuses the whole issue and clouds Jonah's thinking when it comes to the future of the academy, and he doesn't like that. So Jonah's always butting heads. She does stand up for herself and always reassures, or tries to reassure Rick, that that's not the case. Now, they end up, of course, in a standoff with the council, Exeter Ocean Academy Council, consisting of up to 12 members that oversee the running of the whole crew training centre and crew program, and each council member is from a country and sits on that board overseeing what's going on. Now they hear both sides of the story from Rick and from Jonah about national security concerns, especially as things escalate in the area and start to get out of hand, and the council's concerned about the future of the academy, and they start listening more to what Rick has to say about that, and Jonah's really fighting for it. She's fighting to keep things how they are and keep her family or her perception of her family together, because she sees herself as the mother of all and a founding member. Sometimes we get the impression that her emotional connection with the whole thing might undermine or cloud her vision as to what's really going on and the risk it poses to the future of the academy. So she's all tied up in that, and Rick just doesn't like that, and he even has a connection with the Sea Hunters in terms of trying to undermine, with good intention, undermine Jonah and try and shore up the future of the academy with the council, so that they see or have his favour in mind and actually go ahead and do it and split out what he wants to see split out from it to meet his concerns about national security. And the Sea Hunters, of course, are an avenue or a tool for him to utilise in that regard, although they have a mandate under the regulations in the area for security. It doesn't necessarily involve what Rick wants to do, but he seems to have sway over them because Rick's well connected at a very high level, and you find out what that connection is in book 5 and 6 in terms of the retrofitted reverse engineered UFO program as well. So Rick knows a lot more about what's going on than we're led to believe in terms of Project Cygnus. Now, he won't even tell Jonah exactly what Project Cygnus is, but it's all tied up with these skimmers and this retrofitted UFO technology. So there's a real game going on there, and the reader starts to get or become aware of that through books 3, 4 and into 5, and then finally in book 6 we understand why Jonah and Rick take their different stances as things become apparent and we reach the climax of the series. So I'll leave it there with Jonah. A couple more characters to go yet that we're going to talk about. So I'm keen to get into who have we got left. We've got Sue, the protagonist, left, and I also want to talk about, probably collectively, the 3 main characters of the Sea Hunter vessel, Max, Alex and Cam. We may talk about Lee on board the Harvester and Dr. Sign if I get time. But I hope you enjoy the podcast series on the characters, and it provides a deep insight into the various aspects of the novel series. And I look forward to talking again soon about other characters on subsequent podcasts.